Euroterminal Sławków. Thank you very much for sponsoring this conference. Polskie Koleje Państwowe. Polskie Koleje Państwowe. The second one, we are very great. We are very thankful. Thank you very much for sponsoring this event. And Amazon, the third of the sponsors. Of course, we have the certificates. Of course, we have the certificates for you. Thank you very much for supporting this event. Actually, additionally, we would like to honor our patronates. Actually, first of all, Ministry of Infrastructure. Thank you very much. Przewodniczący OSZD. Thank you very much. And Urząd Transportu Kolejowego. We also have two media patrons we would like to thank. First is Pracuj w Logistyce.pl. Thank you very much. And second, Intermodal News. Thank you very much for supporting us. This conference is taking place at Kozminski University, Warsaw, Poland. Thank you very much for being with us. My name is Przemysław Tomczyk. I'm an assistant professor at Kozminski University, and I have an endowed pleasure to lead the first session. Thank you very much for being with us. Okay, during the session, we have actually several interesting presentations. Every presentation will take about 15 minutes. If you have any questions, please use Q&A panel in Zoom, okay? If you are with us on site, don't hesitate to raise your hand and ask the question when the presentation is done. Thank you very much for being with us once again, and I think we should start. Yes, of course. The voice is yours. Professor Mirosław Antonowicz.
Dzień dobry Państwu, mam nadzieję, że mnie słychać. Ja chciałem serdecznie Państwa przywitać jako organizator tej sesji i przeprosić jednocześnie, że mamy okres pandemiczny i niestety ten okres dopadł także mnie. Jestem na kwarantannie i nie mogę uczestniczyć z Państwem osobiście w tej sesji i prowadzić tą sesję. Profesor Tomczyk to zrobi doskonale. Ja bym chciał podziękować wszystkim moim kolegom, którzy przyjęli moje zaproszenie do udziału w pierwszej sesji tematycznej o transporcie wyzwania XXI wieku. Specjalna sesja poświęcona transportowi kolejowemu, rok kolei w Unii Europejskiej. Muszę się także Państwu powiedzieć, że w Rosji, a byłem tam ostatnio o jeden tydzień, ogłoszono rokiem ekologii. Także to wszystko się dobrze do 2050 roku. Transport kolejowy w ogóle transport powinien być neutralny klimatycznie. W związku z tym poruszymy dzisiaj ważne problemy związane z transportem kolejowym, zarówno w kwestiach bezpieczeństwa, jak i innowacji i rozwoju. W drugiej części będzie panel dyskusyjny, w którym także wezmą udział zaproszeni goście. Szczególnie im bardzo dziękuję, że przyjęli to zaproszenie. I wszystkim, którzy chcieli podjąć wyzwanie związane z podjęciem dyskusji na temat roli tego roku kolei i możliwości wpływu na popularyzację i rozwój transportu kolejowego. W trzeciej części będzie następny panel tematyczny o trendach i wyzwaniach łańcucha dostaw. Tutaj mój kolega, pan profesor Jarzębowski, poprowadzi tą sesję. Ona będzie także dotyczyć łańcuchów dostaw. Myślę, że dzisiejsze sesje dostarczą Państwu wiedzy, nowości, tym bardziej, że praktycznie nasza sesja jest tuż po jednym z najważniejszych targów w transporcie kolejowym w Polsce, Trako, na którym
You freeze, professor? Can you hear us? We are experiencing some
Daję Ci
technical
głos,
problems.
dziękuję bardzo, życzę owocnej sesji. Bardzo proszę, dziękuję.
Thank you very much. Dziękujemy bardzo, panie profesorze. Thank you. And I think we should start with the first presentation. Please welcome Małgorzata Ćwil from Kozminski University. Pani Małgorzata Ćwil z Akademii Leona Kozminskiego. Zapraszamy z pierwszą prezentacją. Okay, Małgosia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is Małgorzata Ćwil. I work here at Kozminski University. And as our today's topic is railroad transport challenges of the 21st century, I would like to describe to you the research that I conducted concerning eco-driving in Polish railway companies. I will start my presentation with telling you what is exactly eco-driving, then a few words about motivation for this particular research. I will show you my research questions, methods, and model, and then the results of my quantitative part of the study. At the end, I will shortly sum up the presentation. What is eco-driving? Eco-driving, this is the style of driving that consumes as little as energy as it is possible. It can be introduced in any kind of vehicle, not only trains, but any kind of vehicle, trucks, cars, and etc. However, it can be introduced a little bit differently in every kind of vehicle. For the trains, there is always a scheduled time reserve for every ride. And according to Schepmaker research, there is a negative correlation between the time that is needed for a travel and the energy that is being used. Every train driver can use this time reserve to adjust the speed of the train and to consume less energy and still arrive on time And to achieve less energy consumption, what is important is to adjust behavior of train drivers, is to change their driving style. Why did I decide to conduct this kind of research? What was my motivation? First of all, the main inspiration actually was a meeting that I had with Dutch railways in Utrecht, where eco-driving is not anything new. It's been there for many years, and they're also conducting a lot of research also in the field of social studies, which is something not that common in Poland. So I decided that when I started the research, eco-driving was just being introduced in the first railway companies in Poland. There was almost no research about human behavior in railways, in Polish railway companies. So I decided to, start this kind of research. What is more, when it comes to electrical energy, the topic is really important because of two main reasons, ecological one and economic one. Ecological one, as Mirosław said, there are, according to European Green Deal, there are some, we are trying to make Europe neutral to the climate. And changing transportation is actually one of the main things that we should, how we should aim to it. And when it comes to electrical energy, according to research, when changing the style of driving, you can use 5 to 10% less energy. When it comes to the environment, it for sure can have really great impact on sustainability on environment, especially that the majority of electrical energy for Polish railway companies, around 75 to 80% of energy comes from coal. So minimizing the energy usage can be really good for the environment, but also economic impact for the railway companies. Energy constitutes around 15 to 20% of the cost of each railway companies. So minimizing the energy that is being used will have also an impact on railway companies' budgets. In the first phase, I conducted qualitative research. I conducted interviews with train drivers, and it turned out that there are actually differences in the attitudes of train drivers towards eco-driving. There are differences in their behavior, and in my second stage of research, which was quantitative analysis, I decided to broaden this topic. So what are the factors that influence train drivers' eco-driving behavior, and also does perception of eco-driving as ecological or economic or legislative change influence train drivers' behavior? Because I had this feeling after the qualitative part of the research that it does, and I decided to conduct quantitative study, designed a proper questionnaire, conducted on the sample of 287 train drivers and train drivers instructors in the railway companies that introduced eco-driving till the moment that I started the research, Polish railway companies. And train driver instructors, these are people who actually have impact on how much energy is being used when driving train. You can see the research model presented. This is the model based on Jacek Eisen's theory of planned behavior. This is the theory that is being used quite commonly when it comes to researching behavior in the organization, but also pro-ecological behavior. And this research model is about a certain situation that I was researching concerning eco-driving behavior following eco-driving rules. There are 5 main hypotheses presented here, and I checked if factors such as attitudes towards eco-driving, subjective norms, perceived control of behavior, do they influence train drivers' behavior. Attitudes meaning that they can be neutral, positive, negative, and they are built of 3 components: cognitive, affective, and behavioral one. Subjective norms, this is about how important is the opinion of other people about your behavior. When it comes to organizations, it's mostly about your manager's opinion about how you're behaving, in this case, following eco-driving rules. And perceived control of behavior, this is whether you think that following eco-driving rules is easy or not really. And these are the factors that I included in my research model. I verify all the hypotheses using structural equation modeling. The first model was exactly how it was in Jacek Eisen model. However, it turned out that some of the single relationships were not statistically significant. So this is the final model. In the table, the statistics that are presented shows us that the model is well fitted to the data. And actually, maybe it will be easier here to show. 2 hypotheses turned out not to be statistically significant, number 2 and 3. However, it was not that surprising for me, because in most of the research conducted on the basis of theory of planned behavior, hypothesis number 3 or 4 is statistically significant. And about hypothesis number 2, actually, I found out that there is quite a big distance between train drivers and the managers in railway companies. So maybe that is the reason why subjective norms did not have a direct impact on behavior intention. However, all the factors that were included in the model have impact on following eco-driving rules. This impact can be direct or indirect according to this model. And the other hypothesis that I verified was concerning perception of eco-driving. It was one of the most interesting finding from my qualitative part of study, that this eco-driving is perceived in a different way by different train drivers. Some of them think that the main reason of introducing it was ecological one. So thinking about all the positive impact that we can do for the environment. However, it turned out from my quantitative part of study that only 25% of train drivers think that the main reason was ecological. The majority, almost 60%, think that the main reason of introducing eco-driving was economic one. And economic one meaning that financial benefits for the company, for the railway companies. Some of the people, 17% of my respondents said that the eco-driving is actually introduced because of some legislative factors, meaning that there are some new norms that Polish ones or European ones that railway companies had to adjust to. And I ran ANOVA test and post hoc Bonferroni test to check whether there are some significant differences in the behavior of those three groups, perceiving the eco-driving as ecological, economic, and legislative change. And it turned out that train drivers who perceive eco-driving as ecological change are more likely to adhere to eco-driving rules. So those of them who are thinking about the environment and positive impact on the environment, they actually behave in the way that that consumes less energy. Those train drivers who perceive the change as economic or legislative one did not save as much as energy as those who perceive it as ecological one. And there is no statistically significant difference in behavior between economic and legislative group, as you can see. Summing up, in my research, I found out factors that influence train drivers' behavior as far as eco-driving is concerned. So changing their driving style so that they consume less energy. What was quite surprising for me was to find out that the majority of respondents, almost 60% of respondents, perceive this the main reason for introducing eco-driving to be economic one, which was quite surprising for me. Because I thought that the way it was presented in most of the railway companies was strictly about ecology and environment. What is more, the perception of this kind of program, the eco-driving one, changes actually the behavior of train drivers. So those of them who perceive it as ecological change are more likely to change their driving style and to save more energy while driving. Thank you very much for your attention. Do you have any questions concerning my presentation?
Thank you very much, Małgosia. Okay, guys, do you have any questions? Thank you for that inspiring presentation. Let's have a look if we do have any questions on chat or Q&A session. Okay. Okay, this seems that we have no questions to Małgosia. So thank you very much once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and we kindly invite the second presenter. And the presenter is Izabela Dalewska-Mądra. Here you are. And let me start the presentation. Yep, here you are. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can I use this tool to
Yes,
switch
of course,
on? Thank you.
of course you can.
Okay, great. So welcome everybody. Today, I would like to put you on the focus on strategic procurement management in rail transportation. I'm a PhD candidate at the university, Kozminski University, with the support of Professor Sebastian Jarzembowski, who is supporting me with the research that I will present you in a minute. Okay, how does it work? Yeah. Doesn't matter. I will use PC.
You can use the keyboard.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay then. So today's presentation, I guess it freezed.
Let me help you, please, with that. Okay. This one. Sorry for the technical inconvenience. Just give us a second, please. Okay, this one. Let's try this one. Okay, what about now? Yeah, this works.
Goody, thank you. Great. So I'm speaking that we will because Professor Jarzembowski had a great influence on the research. But the presentation will be divided to 4 parts. We will talk about a research scope, then shortly about the methodology and data sources, and then about the strategic procurement in the rolling stock rate transportation. And then a few conclusions or guidance and really okay, so what about the inspiration to this research? It was a project that I had pleasure to be a part of. It's an in-the-rail project, which was done due to the fourth railway package introduced in 2016 by the European Union. Why it was interesting for me? It was interesting for me because besides that, I'm a PhD candidate and supply chain management is my focus of interest. But on the other hand, professionally, I'm working in projects which are focused on cost reduction and cost optimization. And in a minute, I will tell you why this in-the-rail project and points that was found out during this project paid my attention. But the research goal of the whole research was to provide a tool that would facilitate implementation of rail development policy mentioned policy of fourth railway package, covering strengthening the socio-economic cohesion, rising competitiveness, and access to the labor market and public services for citizens by supporting the efficient functioning of rail transport adjusted to the needs of driver users. So as you see, the project was really wide, but we focused in this research on the short-term on the smaller parts. Tell you in a minute. If it goes about the methodology and data sources, the research was conducted in two-step procedure. First step procedures, it was literature review and legal analysis of EU directives, and also market analysis. To the market analysis of the rail transportation, they were choosing 4 countries: Poland, Germany, France, and Italy. Why? Because their railway transportation is the most complex one. The second step was to conduct workshops. Workshops were conducted with local authorities, with rail representatives, and also with rolling stock manufacturers, which opinions and comments were taken into consideration while conducting the research regarding strategic procurement of rolling stock. Just to emphasize, manufacturers which were invited to the workshops, they creating 80% of the market. And what was interesting is that during the workshops, manufacturers, besides topics like engines used and technology used in the rolling stock, they emphasize that the tendering procedure and procurement of rolling stock in European Union is not standardized. It differs from country to country, and what's more, it differs from the region to region in the given country. So it raises obstacles for rolling stock manufacturers to even deliver the products to countries, to the buyers, right? And they also emphasize that buyers, so I mean mostly public authorities, they are not proceeding with a technical dialogue with the manufacturers, with the producers, and it gives big obstacle to not ordering, not buying innovative products. Okay. So at the end, we just realized that there is a gap in standardization of the rolling stock procurement process. It differs from country to country. It differs from region to region. And there is also not clear answer in the literature or methodology or even manuals in order to be able to build this kind of strategy. So what we did, we tried to build this kind of strategy in order to buy rolling stock. And as I said, it's a work in progress. So I will present you some guidance and tips to do it. So we concluded 5 steps in order to prepare purchasing strategy of rolling stock. First step is evaluation of current strategy and what is important here and what. Sure. Okay, good. So so in the first step, evaluation of the current strategy and category situation is a standard procedure which you are doing when buying something. But here, what is worth to emphasize is to pay attention to the life cycle cost of the purchase product of the rolling stock, which need to be considered at least in 20 years time. Second step, where also sounds really standardized when buying something, is to evaluate needs and product specification. But why it's really important is that we realize, and it was opinion of Rolling Stone manufacturers, that the buyers, they don't really know what are the innovations on the market, and the tendering procedures and specifications are, let's say, colloquially old school, right? So we are not looking forward for the new solutions, like even Małgosia just mentioned ecological solutions, but we, as an authority, as a buyer, we are used to buying what we really know well, not what is innovative and new. And then when the supply market research is done, it's a great point and moment to make a dialogue with the suppliers on the market to understand what are the new solutions available and what they are able to provide to us. Then, of course, we need to analyze the strategies available for us, right? So what are the, for example, savings values or main initiatives? So possibly try to understand if we are the only one who are buying this rolling stock at the moment, or maybe we can try to make our purchase bigger with our new partner, creating purchasing group. And thanks to that, first of all, the manufacturer, the supplier, is able to provide us better prices, better conditions, and is most probably able also to provide us with the, for example, better service after sale. There are many points that we are able to negotiate thanks to widening our purchasing group. What is more, and the biggest plus of creating purchasing group is that we are standardizing the Rolling Stone and railway regionally, countrywide, or even European-wide, right, regionally. So going to the final step, fifth step, what I would like to emphasize here is that each purchase needs to be measured somehow. Why it need to be measured? Because all the key performance indicators of our purchase will be needed in the future when we will do next purchase, and thanks to that we will be able to evaluate how efficient and how if our purchases were good, then we can make benchmarking and many other activities which will help us to optimize the next purchases. But I will not tell you more about this because I could speak about this kind of initiatives too long. Right, so just to conscious of time, I will not go into details the measures that we are proposing and suggesting, but if you wish, of course, afterwards I can share. But for sure, what we need to focus now is to focus on the financial goals, which are just reducing costs, right? The other customer-oriented goals. So if our purchase made that the passenger numbers increased, if the passenger satisfaction increased, right? If it goes about internal processes of our organization, who is the purchases, is that if the transparency of the expenditure increased, if the process of the purchase improved, and at the end, what need to also be we need to focus on is if development goals of our procurement strategies were faced. So if the employee skills developed, right? Because buyers need to be updated with the newest technologies, with the negotiation skills, etc. And also, if we're talking about development goals, we are talking also of availability of vehicles, right? So if our procurement strategy made us to made our fleet, rail fleet bigger. And also, as a conclusions, I know that I'm a bit late already, but this is my thing that I always speak too much, is that we also prepared key recommendation in building purchasing strategies. So really quick is that when we are talking about suppliers market, is to understand the possibilities of suppliers and intensify cooperation with them. It's not really something bad that we actually speak and make a debate with the suppliers and understand what are the newest solutions on the market. Also, remember that maintenance and modernization of the rolling stock is one of the points that we should also take into consideration while choosing the supplier, right? We are really far away from the times when the cost was the only indicator of the purchase. If it goes about non-price criteria, then this is what I just mentioned. Fast and cheap is just the short time solution. We need to think long term, and then mention already purchasing group. Really, purchases of the rolling stock should consider building clusters in order to be able to buy better products for the rolling stocks, which also conclude us to the standardization of the purchase items. Then we are able to really buy things that will match, right? And if it goes about the last recommendation is design for purchase, I will quickly tell you what I mean regarding design for purchase, is that we really need to increase the importance of dialogue with the contractor, that we are able to prepare good tender procedures, which thanks to which rolling stock manufacturers, producers, suppliers will be able to put their offers. So those are the points which I wanted to share with you, and I'm really looking forward for some comments and opinions that will help also to make this research better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? So, if not, may I have one? What is the further research direction in this area? So, in other words, what would you do then in 1 or 2 or 3 years ahead to research this topic?
Well, the thing is that what we did, we researched just 4 countries. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's justified because the complete complexity of the infrastructure. But then this kind of studies could be conducted in each region, and thanks to that, we would be able really to construct a good procurement strategy, right? Not only focusing on our European Union region, because it differs, right?
Okay, thank you very much. Let's have a look if we have any questions on chat. Mm-hmm. No, we don't. Okay, so thank you once again. And now we welcome the third presenter. According to the agenda, the third presenter is Professor Antonowicz. Professor, are you ready?
This presentation, Kinga Jambor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor. That's great. So we welcome Kinga.
Hello.
Kinga, are you with us?
Morning.
Hello. Okay. Kinga, you can share your screen. You can share your screen and start the presentation. Okay. Can you deal with that?
I think that should work.
Probably yes, of course.
Okay, can you see my presentation?
Yeah, we can see this. Yes, of
Wonderful.
course. I recommend you to run the full screen to make the better view. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, Kinga, so the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, it's a pleasure for me to present this presentation on behalf of Professor Antonovic, Chairman of our committee. Perhaps before going to the main theme of our presentation of the corridors, I would like to present, to tell you a few words about our organization, as I think perhaps not all participants may be familiar with our structure, our goals. Well, this year is unique in this regard, as we are 65 this year, so we'll celebrate our anniversary. As for our structure, you can see on the right side, we have two governing bodies that gather once a year. The Ministers' Conference that take recommendations from the General Directors' Conference. We have 29 membership countries. Membership countries is not, being a member country is not the only form of participation in our organization. Apart from member countries, we have affiliated enterprises and observers. So the various actors of railway transport involved. Our committee, OSJD committee, is the executive body of the governing bodies, and we consist of working bodies. We have 5 commissions and 2 permanent working groups. Each commission and each working group is devoted to a separate topic. So there is a commission on transport policy and development strategy, on transport law, another one for traffic, for passengers and freight traffic, as well as for infrastructure and rolling stock. The permanent working groups on IT and technology, as well as on accounting. There may be other forms of our works as well, like joint groups and workshops. So maybe a lot of them, but these are stable and permanent. Going further, our main goal as the organization is to improve the international railway transportation with the traffic between Europe and Asia. The different aspects of this law, infrastructure, policy, as you can imagine, having such a broad territory and cooperating with different countries includes the unification of law and of procedures. You can imagine the European Union on one side and the Eurasian space on the other. On this map, you can see our corridors. OSJD has developed 13 corridors so far that go through our countries. And in this case, the advantages of having such routes, the reduction of train stopover at cross borders. We recently, as Professor Antonovic mentioned, had an important meeting on border crossing at Trako in Gdańsk. So a whole meeting and topic discussed in this regard. The whole cooperation with border organizations as well as governing bodies. The advantage of having such corridors is also we save time when trains travel from east to west and the other way around. COVID-19 was difficult for all of us, was difficult for people and for business. However, here you can see the container train routes in China, Europe, and China traffic. As you can see, the numbers, they doubled in the last 2 years. In 2020, that was twice as much as 2018. The situation was much more different in passenger traffic, but the loads, the cargo was a crucial part to make the world safe as it comes to delivery of products. So the transport corridors in this regard, a very, very needed thing. As for the corridors, you can also see the division of transport policies. In this regard, the development of CIM and SMGS consignment node was crucial to make it possible to cross borders faster and to minimize the time spent on delivery. For the transport corridors on this map, you can see, well, Treseka corridors, that was one of our partnership program. In August this year, we had a meeting with the head of Treseka, and proves an example of quite a great development of corridors as well. On this, on your right side, you can see the time and cost indexes. Train seems to be the golden middle, perhaps, in this regard. The transport time by train is twice as long as by plane, but the cost proves its advantages. A few words on Treseka. Was the Baku initiative of the European Union, established in 1993. Of the 13 countries of Treseka, 11 countries are also our member states. So it proves there is a ground for further cooperation. And on the meeting I mentioned, we developed perhaps a plan for further cooperation, and perhaps in the future some working groups on sharing experiences and having further meetings as well. There are three main routes as it comes for Treseka. So there goes the Trans-Russian route, Trans-Caucasus, and Trans-Turkey. Treseka also developed kind of an index to evaluate the efficiency of corridors. So you can see here the criteria are time, cost, reliability, safety, and security. In this regard, our organization also develops various criteria and various possibilities to evaluate that. We hear voices from both ministers, the rail companies, and other actors of the rail transportation as we go with our works. So both our affiliated enterprises also cooperate and make it possible to see all of the aspects from different points of view. So that's a value, especially as we have countries and actors from such different legal systems. So I mean, European Union on one hand and the Asian space on the other. For the future, the motto of today's conference is that the only thing that's constant is change. And as it comes for railway transport, change is happening all the time. Perhaps the last 2 years proved how dynamic that is. And as everything was affected and everyone was affected by the pandemic, I would say that transport needed to adjust mostly due to both security reasons and the restrictions, I mean, for passengers, develop recommendations and new practices, as well as for cargo. The new tendencies we had, remember the first presentation Ms. Julius mentioned, eco-driving, so that's one of the aspects, and there are various others. So rail transport is the future and has the possibilities and the tendency to develop fastly and to react to changes dynamically. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we are waiting for the questions. Yes, here we have one. Yes, of course.
So my question to you, like how we can reduce the cost of railway? Like you told that it is twice less than the airways. So how we can reduce the railway cost? And other question is how we can reduce the traffic in this corridor?
I had the first part of the question, which was how we can reduce the cost. As for the second one, could you please repeat?
You? Just a bit closer.
Okay. So how we can reduce the traffic time? Like it takes a lot of traffic in this corridor, especially the Eurasian land bridge corridor. How we can reduce the traffic there? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How to reduce the traffic?
Yes, thank you very much. I heard your question. As for reducing the cost and reducing the traffic, these are interlinked things. So if we work on infrastructure, if we work on border crossing, so we have both, it's time efficient, so it's the profitability that that the railway use and that the providers of loads use. So if we are competitive, if it's the price is more competitive, railway is chosen, not planes, not seaports. So we need to work on infrastructure, need to work on legal aspects and to unify them. So there are various aspects that need to be developed, and that is happening right now. The corridors being the great example of that. Border crossing, and I think another thing is also the IT development of IT technologies, as well as perhaps electronic consignment mode may be a good example that is live right now. So moving to the tendencies, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. Kinga, if I may, I have one another. I'm a researcher, so my question will be scientific. How do you think, if anybody study this issue, what would you recommend to study particularly here? What is interesting to study in this area, in your opinion?
To start the research, you mean on corridors?
Yes, of course.
Well, the very first thing to do perhaps is to contact us and the Commission on Development Strategy and Transport Policy, which is devoted to the corridors. Within our commission, there is a group that works on statistics, and having the statistics, seeing what works, what does not work, might give you a starting point to your research. Of course, there are a lot of documentation, procedures, and various aspects devoted to each corridor. So I just named 13 of them because I have 15 minutes to tell you about it. But a great deal of information and data is there, and there is a future to further research as well.
Thank you very much. Any more questions? No, so thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and now please welcome the fourth presenter. The fourth presenter, according to the agenda, the fourth presenter is Professor Marek Sitasz. You're welcome, Professor. want to share the screen first? Is it one? Okay. So let's go to the beginning. And here's your full screen. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, dziękuję. Szanowni Państwo, dzisiaj chciałbym po pierwsze podziękować za zaproszenie i cieszę się, że jestem na tak ciekawym forum dotyczącym transportu. Tematem mojego wystąpienia jest rola bocznic kolejowych w strategii transportowej Polski. Chciałbym powiedzieć, że zajmujemy się wszyscy, znaczy większość się zajmuje strategią rozwoju transportu, a szczególnie transportu szynowego. W związku z tym chciałbym powiedzieć, że przez ostatnie 20 lat prześledziłem tą strategię i chciałbym dzisiaj przekazać, jak wygląda rozwój transportu kolejowego za ostatnie 20 lat. Szczególnie chcę zwrócić uwagę na transport towarowy i na jeden element, który decyduje o rozwoju tego transportu nie tylko w Polsce, a który został zapomniany i dlatego te wyniki, które przedstawię, wyglądają tak, a nie inaczej. I żeby wyprzedzić dyskusję, to powiem, że wszystkie dane są z roczników statystycznych albo z oficjalnych dokumentów naszych w kraju. Proszę Państwa, jaka kolej? Wszyscy wiemy, że podstawową rzeczą dla kolei jest, tak bym powiedział, zwiększenie ilości przewożonych pasażerów i zwiększenie ilości przewożonych towarów, oczywiście przy zachowaniu odpowiedniego poziomu bezpieczeństwa i sądzę, że się wszyscy zgodzą, że na kolei podstawowy warunek to jest bezpieczeństwo kolei. Niektórzy o tym zapominają. Jeżeli chodzi o transport pasażerski, o którym nie będę mówił, ale jest podobny wniosek, może być taki, jak będzie mój wniosek na końcu w transporcie kolejowym, będzie podobny, dlatego że nie znam, znaczy do dzisiaj nie znałem żadnego kraju, do dzisiaj nie znałem regionu w Europie, w którym prawie 6 milionów mieszkańców nie może do stolicy dojechać na godzinę 9:30. To jest jedyny taki region, jaki dzisiaj poznałem. W związku z tym, jakie mam tezy w zakresie tego mojego wystąpienia? Bocznice kolejowe i terminale intermodalne są istotnym ogniwem w procesach logistyki i spedycji w transporcie. To jest pierwsze. I drugie, ilość i jakość bocznic stanowią podstawę rozwoju polskiego kolejnictwa. Tezy są dość proste. Przedstawię, jak wyglądał transport za ostatnie 20 lat i szczególnie pokażę również, czy cokolwiek w tendencji się zmienia w 2019, to chciałem od razu znowu wyprzedzam, to jest przed pandemią. Że te dane są jeszcze przed pandemią, żeby nie było wątpliwości. Proszę Państwa, jeżeli się popatrzymy na środki publiczne wydawane na infrastrukturę kolejową w przeliczeniu na jednego mieszkańca w 2012 roku, to proszę zauważyć, ile wydają Szwajcarzy, Austriacy na jednego mieszkańca, a ile myśmy wydawali. W związku z tym, jeżeli ktoś w strategii mówi, że Polska wydaje bardzo dużo miliardów, to oczywiście jest to zgodne, jeżeli będziemy się nie porównywać z Luksemburgiem na przykład, ale jeżeli będziemy porównywać do jednego mieszkańca, to tak to wygląda. W związku z tym wtedy infrastruktura tak wyglądała, a nie inaczej. Kolejny taki wykres, jakie są, jeżeli mówimy o strategii rozwoju kolei, to od 30 lat Unia Europejska, jak również w dokumentach strategicznych polskich, mówimy, że kolej ma być tym wiodącym. Już teraz, wczoraj powiedziano w telewizji, że w 50 roku to kolej przejmie już wszystko, prawie z dróg i takie są tendencje, takie są dokumenty. A jak wygląda rzeczywistość, widać to na tym wykresie wyraźnie, to było 12 lat temu. Znaczy, jak się Państwo domyślają, jest to tragicznie, jeżeli chodzi o polski transport kolejowy. Proszę Państwa, tutaj to aktualnie widać, że w tym czasie również rosły przewozy, to nie, że nie było towaru, tylko ciągle rosły przewozy, ale rosły przewozy tylko na transporcie drogowym, co zgodnie ze strategiami jest sprzeczne ze strategiami europejskimi i polskimi. Teraz przejdziemy do dzisiejszych, to znaczy będą to dane z 2019 roku, z tym, że część danych, ja o tym będę mówił, z panem Żelazkiewiczem opracowujemy pewne dokumenty, jak również będzie za niedługo konferencja na ten temat bocznic i z terminali i te niektóre dane są tutaj również od niego wykorzystane. Proszę Państwa, proszę zwrócić uwagę na te dane, które tu są przedstawione. Z tych danych wynika, że wszystkie parametry związane z koleją są, nazwijmy to, ujemne. Tutaj proszę zwrócić uwagę, jaki jest udział kolei i jaki jest udział transportu drogowego. To znaczy mówimy przez ostatnie 20 lat o wzroście, że transport kolejowy ma przejąć towary, a wszystkie wskaźniki idą w dół. Proszę Państwa, mechanizmy rynkowe, one, tak bym powiedział, 10 lat temu, 15 lat temu były bardzo modne i ja też uważam, że to jest normalność, ale nie w takich dziedzinach jak na przykład transport kolejowy, gdzie te wszystkie kraje, które, tak bym powiedział, mają transport, w tym transport kolejowym na wysokim poziomie, te mechanizmy rynkowe tam są inaczej rozpatrywane. Dotychczas politycy i decydenci nie rozwiązali według mnie za te 20 lat ważnych problemów transportu w Polsce kolejowego. To jest pierwsze. Po pierwsze, miejsce sektora transportu kolejowego w polityce transportowej państwa jest to nierozwiązane na dzień dzisiejszy. Znaczy po prostu kolej się nie liczy. Miejsce transportu kolejowego w kosztach zewnętrznych transportu. Wiemy, jakie są koszty zewnętrzne transportu i jaki jest udział transportu kolejowego. I w związku z tym z tego nie korzystamy. Kolejowe przewozy pasażerskie, sądzę, że każdy ma swoją ocenę. Ja nie chciałbym dzisiaj się tym zajmować, ale mówię, że podobna jest moja ocena do transportu towarowego i w związku z tym to pominę. Kolejowe przewozy towarowe Państwu pokazałem, w którym miejscu jesteśmy. Co do taboru i bezpieczeństwa również, że nie mamy sukcesów. Proszę Państwa, zaniedbania, które są, wśród tych przyczyn tych zaniedbań możemy wymienić znaczącą dysproporcję w zakresie ponoszonych kosztów przez firmy przewozowe za dostęp do infrastruktury transportowej, duży spadek dostępności do usług kolejowych przewozów rozproszonych, również z uwagi na zmniejszającą się liczbę punktów ładunkowych. Proszę Państwa, żeby wyprzedzić pewne fakty, to powiem, że jeżeli tak to dalej będzie, to będziemy mieć linię kolejową, którą będą przewozić przez Polskę tylko na jednej linii towar, to znaczy się zachód, wschód. Jeżeli nie ma w tym wypadku między innymi bocznic, to jest tak jak rzeka Wisła. Jeżeli rzeka Wisła nie będzie miała dopływów, to morza za bardzo nie dopłynie. W związku z tym tak samo również jest z transportem kolejowym. Wzrost popytu na usługi realizowane w krótkim okresie czasu i tutaj przewaga jest transportu oczywiście samochodowego. Transport kolejowy się do tego nie dostosował. Malejąca z roku na rok liczba bocznic kolejowych. Jest to związane między innymi z formalnościami prawnymi, procedurami. Proszę Państwa, tutaj nie chciałbym na tej prezentacji wchodzić w szczegóły, ale jak moim takim konikiem to jest koleje szwajcarskie. 40 lat do przodu budżet mają zakontraktowany w tym, że mogą oczywiście ten budżet zmienić, ale w jednym kierunku państwo może zmienić, znaczy parlament, żeby wzrosły budżet dla kolei, ale już na 40 lat mają zakontraktowany budżet. Proszę Państwa, krajowa infrastruktura składa się z liniowej infrastruktury do pracy przewozowej. Ważnym tym miejscem, one są ważnym miejscem załadunku i rozładunku towaru. One są również w terminalach. Największymi generatorami ładunków oprócz portów są bocznice dużych zakładów, tak jak kopalnie, zakłady chemiczne, koksownie, huty, petrochemie, centra logistyczne. Proszę Państwa, jeżeli u nas dzisiaj również jadąc samochodem, nie koleją niestety, jest strajk w Strzemieszycach, bo do Sławkowa nie można dojechać, dlatego że mieszkańcy się zbuntowali, bo na dzień dzisiejszy polityka jest taka, że jeżeli ktoś buduje swoje centrum logistyczne, to w Szwajcarii zgłasza do władz regionalnych i mu budują bocznicę, znaczy dojazd do linii kolejowej. U nas oczywiście każą samemu to zrobić, w związku z tym taniej, prawie 100-krotnie jest postawić asfalt, w związku z tym drogi są wtedy dostępne. I w związku z tym towarów kolejowych już w tych centrach logistycznych nie ma. Proszę Państwa, tutaj widzicie właśnie te wszystkie procenty w transporcie drogowym i kolejowym. Dane są takie, a nie inne. Sądzę, że fachowcy od transportu nie muszą tego analizować, wiedzą, o co chodzi. Proszę Państwa, nie będę tu mówił o bocznicach generalnie, ale są tutaj te zagadnienia bocznic bardzo ważne, włącznie z zagadnieniami bezpieczeństwa ekonomicznymi i innymi. Proszę zwrócić uwagę, 20 lat, ile było bocznic, teraz mamy 900, około 90 bocznic. To znaczy się tyle mniej towaru, tak bym powiedział, jest przeładowywane na tory. Tutaj widzimy, że mamy miejsca w kraju, w których w ogóle prawie bocznic nie ma. Są pewne centra, w których są te ładunki przenoszone z bocznic na tory, ale jak widać mamy również białe plamy. Tutaj jest dość ciekawy, tak powiedział, wykres, co zrobić, żeby to poprawić, znaczy żeby zwiększyć liczbę bocznic. To powinniśmy zmienić, zmiany powinny być w obszarze prawno-organizacyjnym, w obszarze finansowym, podatkowym, jak również w zakresie technicznym. Ci, co znają bocznice, wiedzą, w jakim stanie są. W związku z tym tamta prędkość, która jest 30 na godzinę, na dzień dzisiejszy wszyscy już walczą, żeby była 25 co najmniej. Takie są niektóre bocznice i takie są warunki techniczne. W związku z tym, jeżeli zwiększymy ilość bocznic, to zwiększymy udział kolei w przewozach masowych, zwiększymy udział kolei w przewozach rozproszonych, rozwój przewozów intermodalnych się zwiększy się udział kolei w przewozu towarów niebezpiecznych. A jeżeli to zostanie spełnione, to będzie wzrost udziału kolei w rynku transportowych, znaczy nie tak jak teraz, tam 13% do 88%, tylko jest szansa, że będzie dużo większy. Następnie wzrost poziomu ochrony środowiska naturalnego, jak również zmniejszenie ogólnospołecznych kosztów transportu. Proszę Państwa, tu chciałem tylko powiedzieć na koniec, że robimy właśnie w związku z tym, jest organizowana konferencja na ten temat, gdzie te tematy, tak bym powiedział, proszę zwrócić uwagę, dotyczące bocznic i terminali będą poruszane, bo dzisiaj w ciągu tych 15 minut trudno przedstawić w szczegółach ten problem i dlatego wydaje mi się, że dopóki tego, bo w temacie, jak Państwo założyli, jest to związane z strategią rozwoju transportu kolejowego. Wydaje się, że te bocznice to takie coś małego. Bez tego, kto zna kolej i rozumie kolej, to wie o tym, że bez tych bocznic i bez zdecydowanych działań, to od razu powiem tutaj rządu, parlamentu, transport kolejowy będzie tak jak za ostatnie 20 lat spokojnie spadał w dół. Mimo różnych innych ciekawych rzeczy. I tak samo, jeżeli w transporcie kolejowym, to mówię, że musimy się zabrać za bocznicę, a w transporcie pasażerskim wszyscy wiedzą, jeżeli mówimy o transporcie pasażerskim, jeżeli ktoś cokolwiek projektuje, to powinien zacząć od rozkładu jazdy kolejowej i wiedzieć, że na początku jest bezpieczeństwo. Dziękuję bardzo.
Bardzo dziękujemy. First of all, before the questions, I would like to apologize for the presentation in Polish because I realized that some of the attendees don't understand Polish, okay? And please remember that the additional Polish presentations actually were not the part of the agenda before, okay? So if you have a look at the agenda on the internet, you realize that there are no Polish presentations. So all the Polish presentations which will be present here today are additional. Of course, we'll try to translate the most important things from the presentations and send to the attendees. Okay? Przejdźmy do pytań. Czy ktoś z Państwa ma pytanie do Pana Profesora? Zajrzyjmy na czat. Nie ma pytań, dziękujemy bardzo.
Panie profesorze Przemku, mam pytanie do profesora Marka. Mirosław Antonowicz, mogę?
Proszę bardzo, panie profesorze.
Witam cię, Marek. Dziękuję za przyjąłeś zaproszenie i wygłosiłeś bardzo dobrą prezentację. A powiedz mi, jak to wygląda w aspekcie bezpieczeństwa na bocznicy? Czy to jest rzeczywiście taki problem i kto powinien odpowiadać za to bezpieczeństwo na bocznicy?
Znaczy jest to proste pytanie, prosta odpowiedź. Bocznica jest elementem infrastruktury kolejowej. Infrastruktura kolejowa w Europie i w Polsce powinna mieć swoje certyfikaty bezpieczeństwa, znaczy różne, nazwijmy się w cudzysłowie, certyfikaty bezpieczeństwa i te certyfikaty, w zależności do kogo przynależy bocznica, to ta instytucja za to odpowiada. To może być właściciel infrastruktury, to może być przedsiębiorstwo, które posiada bocznicę, to może być przewoźnik i dowolna instytucja, która jest, tak bym powiedział, właścicielem bocznicy. Dwa, generalnie rzecz biorąc, jeżeli chodzi o bezpieczeństwo, tylko powiem krótko, że to jest tak samo jak z tramwajami, bocznice. Tramwaj jest liczony konstrukcyjnie jak pojazd szynowy, a jest pojazdem drogowym. W związku z tym o 300% jest droższy w projektowaniu i wytwarzaniu. Tak samo z bocznicą. Bocznica ma prędkość, nazwijmy to 30 na godzinę, a wymagania są takie jak dla całej kolei. W związku z tym bezpieczeństwo jest tylko związane w zasadzie z utrzymaniem, dlatego że przez ostatnie 20 lat bocznice zostały zdegradowane. I tam rzeczywiście problem jest nie w zasadzie zdarzenia związanego z jakimś wypadkiem w cudzysłowie związany z ludźmi, tylko przeważnie pociągi, tak bym powiedział, wychodzą z szyn, dlatego że ta infrastruktura tak, a nie inaczej wygląda. Dziękuję.
Dziękuję profesorze Marku, dziękuję za odpowiedź.
Dziękujemy. Nie widzę innych pytań. Dziękujemy panie profesorze. And according to the agenda, we would like to welcome another presenter, Professor Julius Engelhardt. Professor, are you with us? Okay, Mr. Zaremba, are you with us? Okay, yes. So we have another presenter, Mr. Marcin Zaremba.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. The topic of the presentation is physical internet, the revolutionary concept of Benoit Montreuil that was created in 2006. And I will show you why this concept is of key importance for railways. Not only important for global railways.
Could you give us a second, please, to upload the presentation, and then we start immediately. Yes, of course, not a problem. Yeah, which one? Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, let me run a full screen mode for you.
Control.
It will be more efficient. Yeah, okay. Here
So
you are.
once again, welcome. Physical internet as a key enabler for sustainable logistics or railway transportation is extensively used. The European Commission perceived that the greatest benefits related to climatic problems, to environmental problems and social problems caused by transport lies first in modal shift. So the assumption was that it would be good to take loads from roads to rails. And modal shift is not easy, saying frankly. Why? For instance, in Poland, only 1.5% of the total transport on the Polish roads is done with usage of large containers. This is the only intermodal transport unit that is carried by railways in Europe and also in other countries. So we don't have containers on Polish roads. So if we shifted the whole transport of containers from Polish roads to rail, it would be again only about 1.5%. Obviously, it's not possible to have 100% of large container transport on the rail. You've got inbound and outbound transport, obviously by roads, in each cases. Because as Professor Sita told, there are huge problems with sidings. So if we didn't have siding, it's not possible to have direct railway transportation. So we will have two terminals at the beginning and at the end of railway transportation, and inbound, outbound logistics with usage of road transportation. So in fact, we can take from the roads only, I can say, 0.5% of the total volume that is transported. So it's really nothing. So what can we do? What can we do? We can take semi-trailers. In continental relation, large container doesn't exist. They exist on Silk Road. They exist in maritime transportation that is going farther in land transportation, but it's not present in European continental transport. So to take semi-trailers from roads, we need special solutions because 97% of semi-trailers are not craneable. So it's not possible to lift it using, for instance, reach stacker or any crane. So it doesn't matter. So we need to have technologies of horizontal unloading and loading. There are certain solutions, but the problem is that if we had one terminal in given technology, we need many others in the same technology. And in current situation in Europe, where the release rate used to be expensive, it's not easy to invest large amount of money to build completely new terminals, especially in Western European countries. In Poland, the situation is much better. But to have really profitable intermodal transport, we need to have long distances. So first, loading or unloading should be in Poland, and we should have at least a railway like of 300 kilometers to have it profitable. So believe me, it's very problematic how to do it. We can have two terminals at Polish borders and at Eastern and Western, and to do transit using special platforms, railway platforms with multi-system locomotives just to cross the Polish-German border. But in fact, it will be only the distance of about 500 kilometers, so not much. To have it profitable, everything would have to go perfect. If we took only few percent of loads from roads to rail in the direction from west to east, our railway lines that are empty in let's say sometimes even 70% would not cope with it. The demand would be at least several times higher than the capacity of railway lines. So in fact, to have a big shift from road to railways, and we were looking into semi-railways transport on rail, we would have to improve everything. And the capex would be huge. So what can we do, and what should we do? Definitely, we should develop railway transport of semi-trailers, but in longer future, we should go and support the concept of the physical internet. What is the concept of physical internet? The physical internet is a global system of closely interconnected logistics networks where high effectiveness and reliability of operations are issued due to the extensive usage of interconnected, interoperable logistics resources, unified cooperation protocols, standard modular transport units, and intelligent interfaces. So in fact, the majority of the areas that should be covered are related to digitalization, to automation, and to autonomous vehicles. In perspective of 15 years, probably on Polish roads will be autonomous driverless vehicles that will carry goods. If we maintain the current situation of Polish railways, there's no other solution than to close all the lines and to turn off the light. So we should look at innovative concept like the physical internet. That is the concept that is strongly supported by European Union. Saying frankly, just from the beginning, the railways would benefit from physical internet because mainly of two things. We would face a significant increase in intermodal transport thanks to the popularization of standard modular transport units. Modular transport units, so we have standardized different size of small containers that we can join them together and to have larger shipping units. All of these units should be easy to handle and should be aligned with protocols of autonomous paperless operations. So we should have automations and we should have digitalization nearly of all processes in the system. So the future of the logistics, also of railway transportation, is in man-free environment, let's say. There is no other way. Otherwise, the man-free environment will be on roads. And believe me, it's much easier to do autonomous vehicles on rails than on roads. So we need to invest much less in autonomous vehicles on rail than on roads. So there is a perspective, there are possibilities, but it's high time to act. And where we can find the money. The main solution is just to implement the rule recommended by the European Union from 20 years, user pay and polluter pay. What does it mean? It means that we've got a direct cost related to, for instance, train movement. We've got depreciation of the railway infrastructure when a train goes from point A to B. So this cost definitely should be paid, and more, all external costs should be paid. So costs related to CO2 emission, to rubber emission, to noise, and to the accident during the transportations, because there are huge differences. Looking at statistics between different kinds of transportation. So we've got different differences in number of casualties, in the number of people that used to die on, for instance, Polish roads each year. It's a much higher amount that related to Polish rails. Even per kilogram that was transported. So obviously we should look at the total mass that was transported. So this is the one thing. So significant increase in the intermodal transport thanks to the popularization of standard modular transport units. If we had more standard modular containers that would replace standard item packagings, we would have great advantages, especially environmental advantages, because this kind of packagings would be reusable and durable, and easily joined into larger transport units. Second advantage, generation of huge pool of orders for rail transport as a result of suggesting transport decisions to shippers by a computer system taking into account various multimodal options. So this is the second problem. The first was that the road transportation doesn't cover external costs. The costs that used to be covered mainly refer to the infrastructure, but not to the external costs, what I was talking about. But here there is a problem of order visibility for forwarders. Current situation is that if a guy, for instance, in China, wants to send anything to Europe, he needs to be familiar with railway transportation. This is the fact. There is a query to the system about the offer, and he used to wait up to 2 weeks to gain an offer. It's not acceptable for most of the forwarders. They've got their clients. They need to answer quickly, and they don't have time to wait for the offer of railways. Obviously, they can get an offer, but it would be a cosmic offer, not a normal one. So we need to do transparent process of offering, and in fact, all transport management systems of different entities in the chain need to be interconnected, just to offer a possibility to present quickly reasonable offers for whole logistics, including auxiliary services to the transportation, not only the transport service. So at one click, we need to purchase all the needed services to send a product from A to B, for instance, from a given location in China to a given location in Western Europe. Is it possible right now? Absolutely not. We need to purchase several separated services rendered by different entities, and the complication related to it is extremely high. So only, in fact, a small percentage of forwarders used to ask railways for an offer. But why the railway transportation at New Silk Road is more and more popular? Because of the costs. Currently, the cost of maritime transport and of railway transportation from China to Europe is the same. But the another truth is that the average time to get a location in Germany from China right now is 60 days. Several years ago, it was only 14. Right now, it's 60. There are problems with infrastructure at borders, at Polish border and at Chinese Caucasian border, where we've got different different gauges. We've got 15-20 millimeters in the former Soviet Union countries, and we've got 14-35 millimeters in Europe and in China. So we need to have two reloadings. There are different possible longness of the trains. We've got 1 kilometer at former Soviet Union countries, and only up to 740 in European rails and in Chinese system. So in fact, the model is the best model is two trains in Soviet in former Soviet countries, and 3 trains in China and in European countries. Looking at 3 trains here, one will go to a location in Poland. The 2 others will go to, for instance, Germany and Netherlands. This is how the transportation acts. We need definitely to improve it. We've got plans to improve border infrastructure, but it takes a lot of money and also time. It's not possible to do it in a few minutes. If you are looking at railway transportation on the New Silk Road, it's difficult to say what is the demand, because if forwarders are getting answers that they will wait 60 days to deliver the goods, most of them are not interested. But if they were told it will take only 14 days, as it was earlier, the demand would be several times higher. So we cannot say there is no demand. The demand is huge, but the infrastructure is too poor right now. Also, we need more rolling stock available for intermodal transport units transportation. But looking at the European Union, at intercontinental connection, the future, I would rather say, belong to the physical internet. The original premises of physical internet. The point 8, the most important for railways, fast and reliable intermodal transport, that earlier was either a dream or a joke. In the era of physical internet, it's possible to compete with road transportation, even in consumer goods, because the shift between road and rail would be rather seamless. And we've got a lot of possibilities to combine different modes of transportation, sending goods from A to B, and even we can send some parts of goods using one provider, second using another carrier, and the rest using even another mode. So we can have even one shipment from point A to B, where some goods will go, for instance, from China to Europe by rail. The other parts by ship, for instance, to Gdańsk, and the rest will fly to the future CPK port in Poland that Polish government promised to build up to 2030. It will be very difficult to build it to that time, but if they succeeded, we would have to combine effectively 3 modes between Europe and China, so rail, maritime transportation, and air cargo, to consolidate it again near the airport, and to have common last miles, with obviously mostly with usage of road transportation to the final consumers, not only in Poland, but also in neighboring countries like Czech, Slovakia, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Hungary, etc. So it's the main condition to for Poland to become a global hub for the trade exchange between China and European Union. You will have available this presentation, so my time is close to the end, so let's move to another slide. Postulates of the physical internet. The most important for railways are: encapsulate merchandises in the world standards smart green modular containers. They are called P containers or M boxes. Second, aiming towards universal interconnectivity. So the ability to instant present offers for whole multimodal trip, it's a key. Evolve from material to P container handling and storage systems. In fact, right now there are no sorters, automatic sorters at railway sidings. So all the systems should be developed from the ground. So in fact, we need in a vast part a greenfield investments. Evolve from point-to-point hub and spoke transport, spoke transport to distributed multi-segment intermodal transport. Why? Because finally the distance from point A to B would be the shortest. There are possibilities to have big gains in this area. Embrace a unified multi-tier conceptual framework, embracing all players in the system. It's very important. And the seventh point, activate and exploit an open global supply web. What is the idea? The idea is that the sender will not know the entities that will provide the service. So we'll have companies being providers of transportation and logistics resources to the system, not branded. We would have asks from senders to the system, and the system should automatically configure the best solutions. Obviously, the system can propose several options, and the sender can choose.
1 minute, please.
Yeah. and the guarantee for a success is that the system will be responsible to the senders for the parcels for the time of delivery. So we will claim to the system, and the indemnification will be obtained from the system. It will further be regressed to other players in the system. So as I can see, my time is out right now. The concept is very promising, and believe me, there is no other option than to do a radical change, to do a re-engineering of the total, let's say, even logistics system, global logistics system, not only the railway transportation or the road transportation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Big applause, please. Okay, I would like just to remind that Mr. Zaremba is the head of Department of Logistics at Polskie Koleje Państwowe. Multimodal Logistics, sorry, at Polskie Koleje Państwowe. Do we have any questions? Okay, let's have a look at chat. No questions, thank you very much. And we kindly welcome another presenter. According to the agenda, another presenter is Professor Julius Engelhardt. Professor, are you with us physically or virtually? Okay, so another one is Professor Marek Jabłoński from Wyższa Szkoła Bankowa, Higher Banking School from Poznań. Yeah, very welcome, Professor. Yes, that one. Just give me a second, please. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We need to shift the screen and share the screen for you. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Here you are, Professor.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invitation. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Antonowicz, who invited me for this presentation. It is very nice that I can present my topic, my experiences in range of safety rules and safety aspects of digitalization of processes. And my presentation based off the aspect of creating of safety rules on the basis of digital solutions. The topic is following: shaping the safety culture of high reliability organization through digital transformation. First of all, I would like to present some context of my topic, because now was implemented to Polish and European requirements for railway packets, which request to implement safety culture as a main aspect of safety management system. Because the safety management system must be implemented by railway undertakings and infrastructure managers, everybody should create solutions based on the for railway packets, and the safety culture is necessary now. Because at this time we have a lot of investments for digital solutions in railway sector, especially not only in Poland, but also in European aspects, because we have a big program of implementation European railway traffic management system in main corridor of TEN in Europe, and also are implemented solutions based on the predictive maintenance for maintenance of infrastructure, maintenance of process, maintenance of wagons, locomotives, and also many companies, railway undertakings, infrastructure manager implement many solutions based on the artificial intelligence and a lot of different solutions. That's why I would like to answer for the questions how the safety culture can be created by digital transformations system. Digital transformation naturally is the problem of all sectors, especially after the COVID-19. We have a big, extremely impact for digitization processes, and many sectors, economical sectors, try to implement very interesting solutions. And also it's connected with railway sector. That's why I deal with aspects of shaping the safety culture by high reliability organization through digital transformation. Also, I would like to indicate for aspects that railway sector fulfill a definition of high reliability organization, because the high reliability organization is the concept based on the nuclear, aviation, and naturally medical sectors. And also we have to say that railway sector also is fulfills definition of high reliability organization. High reliability organization is organization which has a following parameters, like the probability of accidents is very low, but if it's happened, the effect, the result is extremely negative. We have a lot of killed people and a lot of maybe injured. That's why this aspect is very important. My consideration was described in article in the Journal of Energies, and the 140 points for Ministry of Evaluation System and the impact factor. I have written this article with my brother, Professor Adam Jabłoński. I present alone, but generally this article was written by us. The aim of our activities based on the analysis of complex system, which is the railway sector. And I would like to present some introduction, and then I would like to indicate 4 aspects of high reliability organization as a key entities embedded in social technological ecosystem, because you know that the railway sector is complex system. When you have dispatchers, the people who relays critical tasks for safety, and naturally the equipment, which is very important because can make many dangerous situations when we use it. And digital transformation and the specificity of a high reliability organization, human organizational factors, because we have an interfaces between the people, machine, and human. Especially we have problems with this topic when we implement new solutions based on digital aspects. That's why the dispatcher is a part of a complex system. Yes, that's why we have to analyze the people who relay critical tasks for safety. And the safety of technical system, high reliability organization, and process safety based on digitization and creating of safety culture of high reliability organization, and occupational health and safety. Also, this topic is very important. I have a many slides, but that's why I will click very quick because I would like to say something new aspects of understanding of railway sector, especially creating of safety aspects. The socio-technical systems of high reliability organization appear particularly important for observing the impact of digital transformation on the development of the safety culture. The aim of our activities, as I said earlier, is the presenting of our research in the Polish railway, on the Polish railway market, in railway undertakings and the railway infrastructure managers, who answer me what is how they create safety culture with using of digital solutions and digital transformation. I'd like to cover the theoretical aspects, analytical theories, and the results of scientific research of this topic. And that's why the first of all was the presentation of definition of high reliability organization. The railway companies fulfill this criteria. As I said, the hazards, environments, the consequences of failure are extremely high. That's why we cannot allow to happen accidents on the railway market, because it is really, really important. And everybody implement safety management system because they try to avoid disasters. We remember several disasters 10 years ago in Szczecin, how many people died, and some less recently was also several accidents without negative consequences, but they are problems. We have problems with automatic and problems with signal techniques and problems with safety by human errors, especially dispatchers in the control rooms. That's why I would like to present this topic, and I concentrated on the aspects of creating of errors in per human. Especially there's the railway sector based on the definition of resilience. That's why you have to be protected before negative aspects. That's why I have chosen using of high reliability organization, because this is the best example of the system approach. And also, naturally, the high reliability organizations have a special rules, a special approach to the monitoring of safety aspects. A positive and just safety culture also should therefore be developed. You remember, maybe that's why this just culture concept was used in the aviation system, and the people who can indicate for errors during the exploitation of the system. Also, this is a main aspect of creating of safety culture. If the people can see some errors and can indicate, can call these accidents, your manager, their managers. And maybe I will present aspects of my researches, because I have a lot of theoretical aspects. That's why I would like to not explain that, because I have not so much time. You can have, you can read this article internet, because this is open access. Research methodology. I used in this article main parts of research activities. First of all, was the analysis of bibliography, aspects of scientific problems of high reliability organizations, descriptions of main parameters, factors, features of this organization. I defined the main as areas. It was the process safety, occupational health factors, interfaces, and safety management system. For researchers was used the methods AHP. This is a hierarchy analysis method when we have defined the main components of safety culture with using of digitization process. And also was the review of relevant literature, systematic review of literature, and then the next step was the ranking of criteria based on the AHP analysis. And the next step, it was the determination of the force of the impact of visual factors on other factors on the basis of Wester analysis. This is a method for analysis of relationships between the components. And on the basis of this analysis, I defined of main components and cause of negative aspects in safety culture. And the last step, it was the identification of quantitative parameters on the basis of quantitative research among the selected population of railway undertakings, meeting the definition of high reliability organization, as I said earlier. I analyzed 25% of railway undertakings in Poland and main infrastructure managers. And I try to define the main aspects which are connected with definition of safety culture. It was the process safety, and it was the parameters were defined, was defined. Occupational health and safety, and human organization factors, and safety management system. And I asked how they analyze these aspects in organizations, how they understand it, how they implement the solutions which are connected with these topics, how understood the safety culture generally, and how they understand of digitalization inside of the company, how solutions they use, what kinds of use of technology. But naturally, it was not connected not only with digitalization of technical system, which is railway system, but also how they implement rules for safety management. And I defined the ranking of these elements, and the results was following. The company, firstly monitor of needs of employees and stakeholders using digital solutions. The company monitors occupational risk using digital solutions. The company consults employees on work safety using digital solutions, and the company monitors dangerous situations in critical processes using digital solutions, and the company manage change using digital solutions, and the company ensures readiness and response to emergencies using digital solutions. And then it was the similar aspects of occupational health and safety. And then I have prepared analysis on the basis of Western analysis, because I would like to know how the features influence system and how system influence factors. It is the Western analysis for it. And I analyze the different aspects, especially I can say that on the left, you can see on this table that many aspects influence system, but they are active parameters. The second couple of components are connected with passive factors, and this answer how the system influence for these elements. And I analyze it, there's the relationships between these aspects. On the basis of this analysis, I have obtained results that which components influence for social technical systems. And the next aspect was connected with quantitative research surveys. And I have to say that the effect is not so positive, because I think that this is the first step of creating of safety culture by digitalization. In Polish companies, it is the effect is very low. The maximum points was 7, and the average value was 1.25. That's why we have very low level of creating of safety culture with using of digitalization process. That's why it's the first step for our sector. I have to say that our generally railway in Poland is the level of digitalization is very low. We have a start now, yeah, naturally. generally, when we think about the different aspects, Professor Pavlik has probably right that a lot of people implement the new modern dispatchers, these solutions for signal technique. Naturally, it's true, but generally the safety culture and the creating of culture on the base of digitalization is not very own, not own. No, naturally, we have to try to implement these solutions and create more impact. You can see it. A lot of questions. When I asked, you can see the low level of value. Yes, that's why it is really not positive aspect. But I hope that it will be in the future will be grow naturally. We have to work for this topic and try to develop these systems. And the conclusions, naturally, the digital transformation slightly influenced the development of safety culture now. The effect is not so high. And safety culture affects numerous areas of high-reputed organization. And these areas belong to different categories, areas of operation of this organization. I hope that the future will be better. The AHP method for ranking, for analysis of criteria can be useful for analysis of features of socio-technological sector. As I said, that for me is railway sector. It's a complex system when we have to analyze the human aspects, technical aspects, and organizational aspect. Everything is complex, everything is connected, and we have to explain it and analyze it as a very complex system. And the result of Western analysis used to identify such factors, they are essential to the effectiveness of the process of shaping the expected safety culture by demonstrating the relationship between the variables forming this culture showed that there are no critical factors. It is not easy to identify the critical factors that are more important. And the next sentence, the quantitative research defined the high-reputed organization showed that companies are currently applying basic solutions in the field of digital economy. The basic solutions now for extremely understanding of safety aspects. The maturity in this area is still low. Yes, but I hope in the future that digital transformation processes in the railway sector will grow. That's why I think that it is very important. That's all. Thank you very much. If you have some questions, I am very open. Many aspects were described in article which was published in the Energy Journal.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this interesting presentation.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Okay, maybe the questions from the virtual audience. Okay. I have seen no questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye-bye.
And now I propose to welcome Professor Engelhardt.
Panie profesorze,
Oh, there is
panie
one.
profesorze,
Yes, we can hear you, Professor. Hello, Professor, we can hear you. Professor disappeared. Okay, so maybe later on, Mr. Professor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so please welcome Professor Julius Engelhardt from Szczeciński University with the presentation. Are you ready, Professor? Okay. In the meantime, I'm gonna plug in the charger because the battery is running out. Okay, not a problem.
CPK są odcinki na 200, a te podstawowe linie na 250, co podobało moją uwagę, ale moja uwaga dotyczyła tego, że nie 250, a 350 docelowo, bo tak uważam, że dzięki kolejom dużych prędkości następuje coś, co nazywamy w branży separacją ruchu. I proszę zauważyć, cała oś Warszawa-Poznań przy budowie linii dużych prędkości będzie obsługiwana dotychczasową linią E20. Cała oś północ-południe przy wybudowaniu, przy modernizacji CMK i przy wybudowaniu ewentualnie linii Amber tej na północ będzie obsługiwana linią CE65, czyli magistralą węglową. Tak? I w takich przypadkach tutaj absolutnie odciążenie, bym powiedział, tych głównych linii od ruchu pasażerskiego, a zatem większe przepustowości dla linii